Man is not what he thinks he is. Academic examination in the spiritual world has revealed the fact that man is as he thinks, that he becomes what he thinks, and that what he thinks in the present day, determines what he is to become in the future, and also, that since he can change his thinking for the better along any line, he can therefore completely change himself along any line. But the general public who try to apply this law do not succeed to a great degree, the reason being that instead of working entirely upon the principle that man is as he thinks, they proceed in the belief that man is what he thinks he is. At first sight there may seem to be no difference between the principle that man is as he thinks and the belief that man is what he thinks he is, but close examination will uncover the fact that the latter is absolutely untrue. Man is not what he thinks he is, because personality, mentality, and character are not decided by personal opinions. It is the thought of the heart, that is, the mental expression from the inner self, the spirit, that makes the personal man what he is, but the inner self, the spirit is affected only by what man actually thinks in the real field of creative thinking, and not by what he may think of himself in the field of simple personal opinion. It is subjective thinking that makes you what you are, but to think that you are thus or so, will not necessarily make you thus or so. To create subjective thinking you must act directly upon the subconscious, but it is not possible to influence the subconscious while you are forming ideas about your personal self. A simple statement about yourself will not affect or change the subconscious, and long as the subconscious remains unchanged, you will remain unchanged. While you are thinking simply about your exterior or personal self, you are acting upon the outer self, but to change yourself you must act upon the subjective, inner self. Man may think that he is great, but so long as he continues to think small thoughts, he will continue to be small. No matter how high an opinion he may have of himself, while he is living in the superficial, his thoughts will be empty, and empty thoughts are not contributing to high attainments and great achievements. Man becomes great when he thinks great thoughts, and to think great thoughts he must go beyond the limitations and restrained conditions of the person, and mentally enter into the world of the great and the superior. He must seek to gain a larger and a larger awareness of the world of real quality, real worth and real superiority, and must live upon the highest mountain peaks of mind that he can possibly reach. He must live in the life of greatness, breathe the spirit of greatness, and feel the very soul of greatness. Then, and only then, will he think great thoughts, and the mind that continues to think great thoughts will continue to grow in greatness. It is not what you state in your thought but what you give to your thought that determines results. The thought that is only stated may be empty, but it is the thought with something in it that alone can exercise real power in your personal life. And what is to be in your thought will depend upon what you think into your thought. What you give to your thought will give to you, and you will be and become as a result, no matter what you may think that you are. The cause that you develop in the within will produce its effect in the without, regardless of what your assumptions may be. Your personal life will consequently be the result of what you think, but it will not necessarily be what you think it is. Having discovered the fact that the physical body is completely renewed every 8 or 10 months, you will naturally think that you are young, but to simply think you are young will not cause the body to look as young as it really is. To retain your youth you must remove those subconscious tendencies and conditions that produce old age, and you must reject worry. So long as you worry you will cause your personality to grow older and older in appearance, no matter how persistently you may think that you are young. To simply think that you are young will not work. You must think thoughts that produce, retain and support youth. If you wish to look young, your mind must feel young, but you will not feel young until the whole of your mind produces the feeling of youth. To develop the feeling of youth in the whole mind, you must become fully aware of the fact that youth is naturally produced in your entire system every minute, and you must train the mind to take awareness only of the eternal now. So long as we feel that we are passing with time, we will imagine that we feel the weight of more and more years, and this feeling will continually cause the body to show the mark of years, growing older and older in appearance as more years are added to the imaginary burden of age. You will look young when you feel young, but to simply feel that you are young will not always cause you to look young. The real feeling of youth comes when we actually think in the consciousness of youth and give the realization of the now to every thought. You may think that you are well, but you will not secure health until you think thoughts that produce health. You may persistently affirm that you are well, but so long as you live in discord, confusion, worry, fear and other wrong states of mind, you will be sick, that is, you will be as you think and not what you think you are. You may state health in your thought, but if you give worry, fear and discord to that thought, your thinking will produce strife. It is not what we state in our thoughts, but what we give to our thoughts that determine results. To produce health, thinking itself must be healthful and wholesome. It must contain the quality of health, and the very life of health. This, however, is not possible unless the mind is aware of health at the time when such thought is being produced. Therefore, to think thoughts that can produce health, the mind must enter into the realization of the being of health, and not simply live in the dream idea about health. Again, to produce health, all the laws of life must be observed, that is, the mind must be in that understanding of health laws, care of the body, and in that harmony with law of good health, where the guiding thought will naturally observe the laws that produce good health. To simply think that you are well will not teach the mind to understand the laws of life and health, God's laws, neither will that thinking place you in harmony with those laws. Thinking that does not understand the laws of life will not come from the simple belief that you are well, but from the effort to enter into the understanding of all the laws of life and health, God's laws, the spirit of all law, the very life of health, and into the very soul of all truth. You may think that your mind is intelligent and may attempt the most difficult tasks in the belief that you are equal to the opportunity, but the question is if your conception of intelligence is great or small. If your conception of intelligence is small, you may be right to that degree in thinking you are intelligent, that is, you may be intelligent as far as your understanding of intelligence goes. Whether that is sufficient or not to carry out the responsibility that is before you is another question. Your feeling of your mental capacity may be great, but if your idea of intelligence is unrefined, your intelligence-producing thought will also be unrefined, and can produce only unrefined intelligence. It is therefore evident that to simply think that you are intelligent will not produce intelligence, unless your understanding of intelligence is made larger, higher and finer. What you understand and mentally feel concerning intelligence, mental capacity and wisdom, is what you actually think on those subjects, and it is this understanding, feeling or realization that will determine how much intelligence you will give to your thinking. Your thinking will be as intelligent as the intelligence you think into your thought, and how much intelligence you will think into your thought will depend upon how high your realization of intelligence happens to be at the time. You cannot think beyond where you are in mind at the time you are producing the thought. In other words, when your thinking is intelligent, you will be intelligent, but if your thinking is not intelligent you will not be intelligent, no matter how intelligent you may think you are. To make your thinking more intelligent, try to enter into the awareness of finer intelligence, larger mental capacity, and the highest order of mental intelligence that you can possibly realize. Do not call yourself intelligent at any time, or do not think of yourself as lacking in intelligence. Simply fix the mental eye upon absolute intelligence, and desire with all the power of mind and soul to go on and on into higher steps of that intelligence. When all the elements and forces of your system are working in such a way that beauty will naturally be produced, you will be wonderful, whether you think you are wonderful or not, and it is the actions of the subconscious that determine how the elements and forces of the system are to work. Therefore, the wonderful person is wonderful because their real interior thinking is helpful in the creation of the wonderful. That person, however, who is not wonderful, does not necessarily think ugly thoughts, but their interior mental actions have not been brought together in such a way as to produce the expression of beauty, that is, the subconscious actions have not been arranged according to the most perfect pattern. But these actions can be arranged in that manner, not by thinking that one is wonderful, but by thinking thoughts that are wonderful. When you think that you are wonderful, you are likely to think that you are more wonderful than others, and such a thought is not a wonderful thought. To recognize or criticize ugliness and inferiority in others is to create the inferior and the ugly in yourself, and what you create in yourself will sooner or later be expressed through your mind and personality. So long as you worry, hate or fear, your thought will make you undesirable in mind and character, and later on in the person as well, and no amount of affirming or thinking that you are desirable will overcome those ugly states of mind that you have created. You will be as you think, worried, hateful and ugly, and not desirable as you may try to think you are. The personal man is the result, not of beliefs or ideas, but of the quality of all the mental actions that are at work throughout the whole mind. Man is as he thinks in every thought, and not what he thinks he is in one or more isolated parts of his personal self. You may think that you are good, but your idea of goodness may be wrong. Your thought therefore will not be conducive to goodness. On the contrary, the more you praise yourself for being good, the less goodness you will express in your nature. In addition, To think of yourself as good will have a tendency to produce a feeling of self-righteousness. This feeling will cause the mind to look down upon the less fortunate, and a mind that looks down will soon begin to go down, and you will be no better than those whom you frowned upon before. You are only as good as the sum total of all your good thoughts, and these can be increased in number indefinitely by training the mind to continually grow in the awareness of absolute goodness. To grow in the awareness of goodness, keep the mental eye upon the highest thought of absolute goodness. Try to enlarge, elevate and define this idea or understanding of goodness continually. Pattern your whole life, all your thinking and all your actions after the likeness of this highest understanding. Then never look back or try to measure the goodness that you may think you now possess. Press on eternally to the higher and larger realization of absolute goodness, and leave results to the law, God's law. More and more real goodness will naturally appear in all your thoughts and actions. You will therefore become good, not by thinking that you are good, but by thinking thoughts that are created in the image and likeness of that which is good. It is clear that man is as he thinks, and not necessarily what he thinks he is. But there is still more evidence. That your personal self as the result of your thought has been revealed, but what thought? To make yourself thus or so, the necessary thought must first be created, but to think that you are thus or so, will not create the thought that can make you thus or so. The reason is because it is subconscious thought alone that can produce effects in your nature, physical or mental, and you cannot enter the subconscious while you are thinking only of your personal self. What you think about yourself is always objective thought, and mere objective thought is powerless to affect or change anything in your nature. To think thoughts that can give you more life, you must enter into the awareness of absolute life, but you cannot enter the absolute while you are defining or measuring the personal. If you wish to possess more quality, you must give your thoughts more quality and worth, you must forget the lesser worth of the personal and enter into the awareness of the greater worth of absolute worth itself. So long as you think that you are thus or so in the personal sense, your thought will be on the surface. You will mentally live among effects. You will not create new causes, therefore will not produce any changes in yourself. You will continue to be as you are thinking deep down in the subconscious where causes are created such as hereditary tendencies, habits, race thoughts and other mental forces continue their usual work, regardless of your personal opinion or empty thoughts in the surface, objective thoughts. To change yourself you must go to the depth of mind where the causes of your personal condition exist. But your mind will not enter the depth of the within so long as your thought is on the surface, and your thought will be on the surface so long as you are thinking exclusively about your personal self. The secret therefore is not to form opinions about yourself or to think about yourself as being thus or so, but to form larger conceptions of principles and qualities. Enter the richness of real life and you will think richer thoughts. Forget the limitations, the weaknesses and the shortcomings of your personal self as well as your external opinions of your personal self, and enter mentally into the greatness, the grandeur, the gloriousness and the splendor of all things. Seek to gain a larger and a larger understanding of the majesty and marvelousness of all life, and aspire to think the thoughts of God, the source of all life. This is the secret of thinking great thoughts, and he will positively become great whose thoughts are always great. In like manner, he who thinks wholesome thoughts, and wholesome thoughts only, will become healthful and wholesome. Such thoughts will have the power to produce health, and your thoughts will not return void, will never fail to do what they have the power to do. Place in action the necessary subconscious thoughts and the expected results will always follow. Man therefore is not what he thinks he is because such thinking is personal, and consequently shallow and powerless. The thought that determines his personality, his character, his mentality and his destiny is his innermost thought. The thought that is produced in the subconscious during those moments when he forgets his personal opinions about himself and permits his mind to act with deep feeling and spiritual conviction. But those thoughts that enter the subconscious are not always good thoughts. Man's inner thinking is not always helpful to the truth, the wholesome and the best, as his thinking is not always right. For this reason, man himself is not always good, nor his life as wonderful as he might wish it to be. His thinking is in his own hands, however. He can learn to think what he wants to think, and as he is and becomes as he thinks, we naturally conclude that he may, in the course of time, become what he wants to become. The greatest cure in the world is change, and change implies the passing from the old to the new. It is also the only path that leads from the lesser to the greater, from the dream to the reality, from the wish to the heart's desire fulfilled. It is change that brings us everything we want. It is the opposite of change that holds us back from that which we want. But change is not always external. Real change, or rather the cause of all change, is always internal. It is the change in the within that first produces the change in the without. To go from place to place is not a change unless it produces a change of mind, a renewal of mind. It is the change of mind that is the change desired. It is the renewal of mind that produces better health, more happiness, greater power, the increase of life, and the following increase of all that is good in life. And the constant renewal of mind, the daily change of mind, is possible regardless of times, circumstances or places. He who can change his mind every day and think the new about everything every day, will always be well, he will always have happiness, he will always be free, his life will always be interesting, he will constantly move forward into the larger, the richer and the better, and whatever is needed for his welfare today, of that he shall surely have in abundance. Peace.